This is the tendency of fault finding. A fault finder will overlook all good qualities and simply point out the bad qualities, or what he thinks to be bad qualities. To make such a judgment, one would have to know a lot about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. It's widely known that Parikshit Maharaj was saved by Lord Krishna at the time while he was in the womb. So you can't get any higher than that to be personally protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And as a Brahmana, he should have known and should have considered. So in our dealings too, we should try to overlook the faults of others. A Vaishnava, he's called Paramahamsa, the topmost devotee. He separates the material, the spiritual from the material. He keeps Krishna. It's like the swan takes milk from a milk and water solution. So Vaishnava should see this person is, perhaps there are some disadvantages this person has due to birth or karma, but if they're trying to do something good, then an intelligent person, he takes the good rather than looking for the faults. It's easier to point out faults in others, and sometimes we may feel that makes us feel better when we point out the faults of others because we feel that we're higher. But it's better to see the good qualities in others and concentrate on improving the faults in ourselves. That's a more advanced approach. Just like someone goes on Sri's books of Krishna to the public, he could say they're meat-eaters, they're impure in all their habits, but still they're willing to hear. If they're willing to stop for a moment and hear, that's their good quality. The Brahmins, the Jati Gosai, those who take it that one is a Brahmin by birth, they don't think that anyone except someone who's born in a Brahminical family can become a Brahmana, or what to speak of a Vaishnava or a sannyasi, a devotee. They think he has to wait for his karma. He has to, in other words, being born in that family or that circumstance, they think that he has to fulfill have to remain in that role until the next birth, and then perhaps they can get higher birth to be born in a Brahmin family. But that's not the philosophy that Krishna teaches. Krishna says, Mami partavya pashitya yepi shupapachonaya striyo vaishas tata shudras tepi janti paramgatim. Even those with lower birth, if they're engaged in devotional service, they can attain the supreme perfection. Paramgatim. Supreme destination is to go back to home, back to Godhead. This is what makes Krishna consciousness so complete and perfect, is that it doesn't discriminate for anyone. Even animals can go back to Godhead. And there are examples given, elephants and dogs and other types of animals. They can go back to Godhead even from that position. So what to speak of? It's like when Lord Chaitanya was present in the story of Shivananda Sena and the dog. He wanted to take the dog in the party to go to Jagannath Puri. And it's a long story, but somehow or other they got separated. The dog wasn't allowed to go, and it wasn't fed, so he left. But when they arrived at Lord Chaitanya's place in Jagannath Puri, they saw the dog was already there. So Shivananda Sena paid his obeisances to the dog. And he was a very high grade Brahmin, qualified. But he offered his respects to the dog. That he had found the right place, he found the destination before him. So he took him as his guide. So the devotee should be humble, Srinada Pisanuchena, think himself lower than the straw on the street, offering all respects to others. And when one pays obeisances to another person, he's paying obeisances also to the supersoul. Supersoul within the body is worthy of obeisances. So, in that sense, one can offer obeisances to even someone of so-called lower status. Human status may be considered high level of evolution, higher species. But from the point of view of having the super soul in the body, every living entity has that. So we can offer respects to all living entities. And in order to preach, one has to not look down on the person he's preaching to, because if he does, then they won't be inclined to want to take up Krishna consciousness. They'll think that there's discrimination, and they think they're superior to others. That's what makes it very attractive when one meets a devotee. See, the devotee is not proud, thinking himself better than others. Rather, he thinks himself very insignificant, And he simply wants to give, he feels it's his responsibility and duty to give them Krishna consciousness information. Even though he doesn't think it makes him better, but it's his duty. He's been ordered by higher authorities. Lord Krishna says, one who preaches the message of Bhagavad Gita is, there's no one more dear to me, so he wants to do that which pleases Krishna, so he preaches. Not so he thinks he's better than the others, but because Krishna wants that. So this person is son of a Brahmin. He didn't understand the philosophy correctly. He didn't understand how the soul shouldn't be identified with the body. You should see all living entities as eternally, they're eternal spirit souls, and they're pure like the Lord. Even if someone is temporarily in a contaminated state, that can be changed by Krishna consciousness. All the contamination goes away, and the whole place, the whole person, everything related to the situation becomes transcendental. So when we read this, we shouldn't become too critical of the Brahmin either, the Brahmin boy, because he was just ignorant. And there are Brahmins, or those who even are born into these families, born into caste Brahmin families, they may start off with a misconception, having been taught that, but they can also change. They can also give up that misconception. And that's what Prabhupada did. He brought the Westerners to India and to Vrindavan, and then he showed how by Krishna consciousness, Westerners can change. They give up their old bad habits. And so in that way, he charmed even the caste Brahmins to give up their old ways. This is Krishna consciousness. Everyone gets charmed to come to a higher level and to overlook others' faults. In Krishna consciousness, all one has to do is chant and he becomes the best person. And sometimes the persons who are in the so-called lower stage of society, they're easier to get to chant than those from the higher stage. So in that sense, they're more fortunate. And sometimes humans have a difficult time. They may be very finicky about what they eat. They won't take prasadam sometimes. Whereas some animals will take prasadam practically any time. So who's more fortunate? Just a few thoughts. Thank you.